Good morning everybody, and welcome to this webinar. This is a webinar concentrating on the use of the toolbox cycles in SolidCAM, plus a little bit extra. My name's Les Boland. For those of you who are expecting to hear the dulcet Irish tones of Shane Keaveney today, he sends his apologies as he has somehow lost his voice. Must be all the shouting he does. So you've got me for the duration, and what I've got on the screen here in front of me is a little exercise I knocked up to show some of the more commonly used and useful of the toolbox cycles. I'm saying that just because that's what I think the sort of features that you would do quite regularly on a part, and the toolbox cycle gives you an easy and quick way of creating Toolpath without having to particularly go into a profile or a pocketing strategy and then have to tailor it to suit your part. It's an out-of-the-box solution, if you like. Okay, without further ado then, what I'm going to do is start machining this. I'm going to machine this entire part just using toolbox cycles. Now there's one of the cycles that I'm going to use that isn't actually quite suited to this part, and you'll see why when we get to it. So I'll offer an alternative way of machining that feature. But in essence, you can machine this entire part just using the toolbox cycles and nothing else. Okay, so let's get cracking then. As you can see, what we've got in front of us, we've got a shape with multiple features on there, and it's going to be coming out of a rectangular block of material, whatever that material might be. So the first thing I want to do is I want to whittle away. If I just turn this on its side, you see that column there is the highest feature. So I want to get from the top face there down to this level here by using a toolbox cycle. And the toolbox cycle I'm going to choose in this case, add milling toolbox cycles. The one I'm going to be using of these cycles is the this one here, Simple Boss. What we've got, as you can see, we've got a boss sticking up on the part. I mean, if this little rectangular feature wasn't there, then that's exactly what that is. It's a simple boss. But I've got to take into recognition that this feature is here, so I can only go down to this top level using the Simple Boss feature. What the Simple Boss feature does, it's like using an open pocket strategy where you're telling SolidCAM that the outer edge of the material is actually open to the tool from all sides, and that you can machine from all sides to the middle of that upstanding feature. So you can see here that our graphic is telling us what to pick. It's saying that the first chain 1, should be the outer edge of your stock, your profile, you know, whatever it is that you're coming from. And the second chain needs to be your feature, and it needs to be in that order. You do it the other way around, it won't work. So your first chain is what it knows is the open area. The second chain is what it knows is the feature that you want to machine. So let's do that. I'm going to create a new chain. Now I can pick around the stock edge here for my first chain, or I can just pick around the bottom edge of the part. It matters not. I'll just click on there and give it the auto constant Z option, and it's saying, is it okay? Yes, it is. So there's my first chain. What it's decided is the open area. I don't have to tell it that it's open. It's part of the strategy. It knows that. So my second feature is this feature here. Yeah. So, and it doesn't matter which direction the chain is in this instance neither. You'll be machining in a direction that that you choose. So there's your two chains. I'll just pick a tool now, and I'm going to pick this 20mm end mill that I've already got in my toolbox, my tool carriage, and now we need to give it some level. So my first upper level is going to be from the top face there, and my depth is going to be down to that level there. Okay, so we're at 20mm depth. Technology that I'm going to be using is all predetermined really, so there's not a great deal that you need to choose in there apart from your step down values. 20mm deep, I'll choose two 10mm step downs. We've got a step over value of 5 in there, which is fine by me. We're not leaving anything on the wall. And what you do have here is the option of an extension of the, it can either be a percentage of the tool diameter or a value, and that is how far you want to overhang a part. And that also controls your finish and your approach distances as well. So I can put a value there, say 5mm, just for the sake of safety. You notice we've got no linking in here, no lead on lead. That's all predetermined, and it's all decided by your extension as well. So you've got to give yourself a little bit of leeway there to move from the side of the part. Direction, one way or zigzag, and that's it. That's all we need to do. So all I've done is chosen me two geometry lines that it tells you to. Pick my tool, pick my heights, step over and step down, save and calculate, and let's have a look at the toolpath that's put on there. If you look at it from the top, it'll be more obvious to you. See what it's doing is coming around, taking the corners off first of all, then it's taking the bigger cuts, moving over towards the feature itself, and then as it gets to the feature, it moves around it. Let's just see that in action, and we'll do a simulation there. Solid verification. Oops, a daisy, that's a bit quick. So I hope I'm not making you seasick with all these mouse movements. Okay, so let's just take it one step at a time initially. So it's coming down to our first step down height, and it's taking that corner off there. I've probably held off a little bit too far at 5mm there. That's why it was cutting a little bit of fresh air there. I might need to move a little bit closer in. So it's taking that corner off just so that it can get some a bit more speed and feed on later. As you can see, it's taking the corner off and then moving around. I'll whiz this on a little bit. I'll play it, and then you can see exactly what it's doing. So it's moving over towards the feature. It's taking all the stock off from the furthest edge and moving over towards the feature. That's predetermined. It'll always do that. It'll always start taking the material away first, rather than start attacking the feature straight away. And that's exactly what it's doing there. So hey ho, bingo, job done. So we've taken that feature down to our first level just simply by choosing geometry lines and giving it your step down. You've done that quickly and easily. Okay, so that's the first level of our machining done. Let's have a look at what we now need to do. The next thing we need to do is to get down to this level, but we've got to take into consideration not only the feature that we've just machined, but this little boy here, this little rectangle piece. We'll rough him out also. So let's have a look at if there's a toolbox cycle that can create that. So I'm going to go to Add Milling Operation and Toolbox Cycles once again, and we'll have a look at what we've got in our toolbox. What we have got is this here, simple multi-bosses. The first one was called simple boss. This is simple multi-bosses. Works differently to the one we've just seen, but it allows us to select more than one boss. The first feature, the first one, will only let you pick one boss. You can't pick, if there's two there, you're stuffed. You can't pick two. So we've got to go on to simple multi-bosses. And once again, it shows you what to pick, shows you your boss, outlines of your bosses to pick, but it doesn't tell you to pick the outline of the job. It doesn't say, well, I want you to come from this open pocket. It doesn't work like that. That is not what it's for. It works like similar to the profiling operation, and I'll show you how in a second as we move along. So first of all, we need to pick our geometry. So once again, I'm going to pick that one, and also this time I'm going to pick that one. So we now have our two chains of our two bosses. Pick our tool once again, same tool as last time. Now our levels this time are going to be coming from this height here down to that face there. Okay. Technology this time, slightly different. It's based on the profiling technology. As the previous one was based on the pocketing technology, this one is based on the profiling technology. So we have two features to machine. We now have to say, well, where are you coming from? We've got to create a clear offset. So I'll click on the clear offset, and what I'm going to look at here is I'm looking for something that's like the furthest distance away from my features. So I'm going to click on this point here. That'll give me my furthest away, because that's furthest away from that, and it's furthest away from that. Although that wall is furthest away from that, it's not furthest away from that. Do you get what I mean? I'm looking for the highest value I need to step over. So I'm going to click on that point there. Save that value there. Step back over at 5mm, which is fine. We'll go one way. I'll save and calculate that now. So all I've done, oops, I've not put a step down value in, that would help. I'll put 10mm in there, same as before. Save and calculate that. So all I've done, pick my geometry, pick my tool as you would, the levels that you're working between, my step down and my step over, my clear offset value that I'm holding off. So let's have a look at that toolpath first of all. And as you can see, although it's cleared the whole area, what we've got here, we've got a lot of cutting in fresh air, which is what the strategy of holding off a feature by a step over value would give you anyway. So although in this instance I've not got an ideal example of using the multi-boss feature, you can see how it would work in a more evenly spaced set of circumstances than I've got here. So what I'm going to do is we'll machine this, and then I'm going to show you a better way of doing it. So what it's going to do, it's going to machine around as it's doing so there towards each feature. Yeah, it's cutting around from each feature by a value. And yes, as you've seen, it is doing a bit of a fresh air cut. It's doing the next level now. And then it finishes each feature. Okay, job done. It's as I say, in this example, it's not ideal, but you can see how the feature works. You can see how it can be useful. So to get that better, so we've not got all this fresh air cut in, what we could do is a similar strategy to before. So we're not going to do it in the toolbox cycle, although it would machine it. It's not ideal. So we're going to use a strategy other than the toolbox cycle for this. This is something that I don't think many people are aware of, that it happens. You're able to do using a pocket strategy. A pocket strategy, although as its name suggests, can be used for pocketing, it can also be used for clearing areas. It's very good at it as well. So similar in the way to what we did with the first toolbox cycle where we cleared the boss, we're just going to create an open pocket. So my first chain, and it must be your first chain, once again, same as the toolbox cycle, we're going to create a open area. So we've created our first chain. This time I'm going to right click on that chain in the box there and mark the chain as open, so it knows that's now an open area. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick on that chain there and that chain there, auto constant Z. So now we've got our open area and we've got our two features. Save and calculate that. Tool, once again our 20mm roughing tool. Levels, once again, same as we've just shown in the previous example. Step down value of 10. technology this time. You can see now we've got the feature of open pocket now, the tab that has appeared in here. So what I'm going to do is go straight into that. These values are fine for me, what I've got here. Go straight into that. I'm going to use profile strategy and approach from outside. All I need to do now then is save and calculate that and show you the toolpath that's now created. You see that? A lot neater. Very similar to the, if we look at the first strategy where it was doing the one feature, it's a very similar strategy to that, only it's taken into account each feature. If I just suppress the toolbox cycle operation that we did there, we can now simulate that in Solid Verify, which we've got there for you. And you'll see now it uses a very similar strategy to the previous operation, apart from the fact that you don't have the fresh air cut in. So that's where you would use your your normal standard pocketing strategy to machine a feature such as this, where you've got two areas, two upstands, and you've got to clear all the area outside it. So it's the open chain in the pocketing feature. If you think of the pocketing feature as not just for pockets, it's an area clearing strategy is what it is. Pocket. It's called pocket, but it should be considered as an area clearing strategy. Okay, so now we've got down to our face there. We've now got a few features to consider now that we could look at using toolbox cycles for. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this corner here, get that corner cleared. Now normally you could just use a profile. You could pick that line there and you just use a profile. But what profile would do, it would clear the area. You'd be cutting fresh air. You'd be cutting right out to here to get that area cleared. We have a toolbox for that, a toolbox cycle rather. So I'll go into my toolbox cycles and we'll have a look at what possibly we could use for that feature. And here we have a feature called simple corner. Now the simple corner in my example is straight corner, but as you can see by the graphic here, it doesn't have to be a straight corner. It can be a contour. And then once again it tells you what to pick. So that is exactly what I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick that top line there, he says. There you go. Save that. Our tool once again is our favourite old 20mm roughing tool. So select that. Choose our levels. Now we're coming from this face there because that's where we've got to. Then we're going to go down to that level there. 10mm depth. Technology. I'll be a bit kinder on the tool this time. I'll just choose a 5mm step down. 5mm step over is just fine. Extension, once again, you've got your extension of your tool. I'll just leave it set at the 10% with default value of the tool. We're going to cut one way, and this time you can sort your passes by passes or slices. So you can do one Z level or complete depth at a time. Is what that means. So I'll save and calculate that option there, and let's once again have a look at our toolpath. And as you can see, the toolpath is kept short by the feature there. You know you're doing an angle, and it's keeping the toolpath short. It recognises where everything is. I haven't told it. It's all got that from that line. So it calculates it out, which I think is quite a good feature. So let's simulate that and see how we can affect the way that machines. So our tool comes down right at the edge there, takes its first cut, jumps back up. I've got it jumping back up each time. So it's doing it at one step down level, then the second step down level. You see that? 5, 10, 5, 10, all the way across. Okay? And to change that, you would change that by slices. And simulate that again. So this time It's going to stay at the same Z level, 5mm Z level, then 10mm. Okay, so that's a quick way of clearing a corner and not having fresh haircuts, as you would get if you did that in a profiling strategy. Okay, that's our corner done. Let's move on. I think I'm going to have a look at this little area here now, this little sort of open pocket. Now then, I've given you a big clue there. That's what you would use, or you could use. You could create this, tell this is a pocket, and say that that's an open edge. But we have a toolbox cycle for that, so I'm going to use it. Add milling operation, toolbox cycles. Let's have a look. So look in there. What we've got here, we've got an option for a spiral closed slot wide, which is what I think that is. You've also got the option here for a spine slot, which is same shape as what we've got there, but I think the feature that I've got here is quite wide. It's 50mm wide. If I've got a 20mm tool, then it's more than twice as wide as the tool, so I'd say it's wide. So that's what I'm going to use. And once again, by the graphic, you can see that's all it needs to know. It doesn't need to know this edge and mark it open or anything like that. It just needs to know the shape of the slot. So without further ado, I'm going to pick that. So I'll just pick these features here and then give it the green tick. So there we have our chain. Pick my tool, once again, our favourite. Levels, upper level, there, depth, there. The technology this time, a little bit more to it. Step down value of 10. How deep is that? Yeah, it's only 10 deep anyway. Yeah, 10. Okay, I'll once again be really kind to the tool and have a step down value of 5. You've got a step over for your spiral cuts. Your spiral cuts is what it's going to do to machine it out. It's like a trachoidal strategy. This is going to cut it in a trachoidal fashion where it ramps in and ramps out of the depth of the cut. So you have a minimum and maximum cutting angle, because obviously as it engages the material it changes, and so you can choose that, a minimum cutting angle of 40, maximum cutting angle of 60. I don't particularly know anybody who uses cutting angles. People are more familiar with how much they want to step over. So there's the same values in step over, and they look pretty okay to me. You don't want to go any more than 5, but you know, you don't want to be pussyfooting about neither. So 2.5 degrees or so, sorry, 2.5mm or so to step over. Okay, we've also got a mortar width, and once I click on there, the graphic changes, and you'll see exactly what it's talking about. The mortar width. So you've got your trachoidal path as you move through, then you've got extra cuts that you're going to go around the profile with. So let's have a think, shall we? I know that is 50mm wide, and there you can see by clicking on the line, you can see at the bottom of the screen there, it is indeed 50mm wide. I know I've got a 20mm wide tool, so if I consider that my mortar width wants to be perhaps 40mm, that's leaving 5mm aside on the walls to just profile around with, which I think should be alright. We have our step over value. This is for our mortar at the end, so I've left 5mm on. I can step over 5mm and clear that straight off in one whack, so to speak. Alright, so we're going to cut one way, not leaving any material on. And there's our extension as well, which is going to, in this case, stick outside the front of the slot. So just to recap, where's my mouse gone? Just to recap, geometry was picked quite easily, tool selected, level selected, and we've chosen our step over and the width of our mortar and how much we want to step over after we've cut our mortar towards the outside of the feature. Save and calculate that. Let's have a look at our toolpath this time. And as you can see, I'll just zoom that up a little tad. As you can see, we've got 2 levels going on there, so it's a bit difficult, but you can see what it's doing. It's heading on in there in a trachoidal spiraling type fashion. Then when it hits the back wall, it then moves towards each corner and clears that out, similar to the eye machining strategy. So let's have a simulator of that and see what that does look like in the real world. Bring that up, and I'm going to step it in slowly first of all. So our tool comes down to our first cut level of 5mm, and in it goes. It arcs in lovely and gently. I'll have a look at that from the top. Arcs in beautifully there, really gently for the tool, and just moves on in there. I'll speed that up now. So there you go. It's moving in towards the end. And then it's either on or off this thing. It's got to the end, and now it's moving in towards one of the corners. Then it's going to do the whole thing again. It hits the end, then takes each corner out. Okay. Then rather sharply it does that 5mm step over to finish the cut. Okay. Everyone happy with that? I hope that wasn't too quick for you. I'm just conscious that time is cracking on, and we've got another couple of features yet to show you. No, I haven't got. Yeah, we have a couple more features. So I hope you're okay for time, you chaps. I hope Ian's paying attention as well. I say Ian's there. He's not fell asleep. Okay. Next thing I want to do is this open slot. Very similar feature to the one we've just done is the open slot. So we can pick a feature from our toolbox there to create that. We have a couple of options here. We have spiral open slot wide. I don't think this is particularly wide. I'll use the normal spiral open slot feature on this one. So once again, it shows us how we need to pick our geometry. That's one churn, that's another churn. Once again, it doesn't matter which direction our chains are going. Our tool, select smaller. Let me think. How wide is that? 30mm wide. I'm going to select the smaller tool this time to get in there. So 10mm end mill. Our levels from that top feature there to the bottom face there. Technology. Step down to 5mm. Step over. Slightly smaller than last time. It's taking this information from the tool, of course, so it's doing a smaller step over, a minimum and maximum step over than before. Once again, 10% default value for the tool. That should still be alright, shouldn't be hitting anything there, and that's it. Save and calculate. Let's have a look at the toolpath. Okay. So what it's doing, it looks as though you've got a few jump arounds here. You see here, it's starting at this end, it's coming out, and then it looks as though it's doing something weird here. You're probably wondering what that is, because it's not obvious, not immediately obvious as to what it's doing. But what it's doing, as it breaks through, it just clears these little bits that it's left behind as it breaks through. Once it's broken through, it clears the walls. It does one pass down each wall. That's predetermined. You're not selecting that. You've got no information here on that. It's just something it does. It holds off the wall by its own predetermined amount and then wipes the wall as it's finished. So that's a predetermined cycle. That's the thing with these cycles. Because they are cycles, they are predetermined strategies. You just tell it where to do it and how deep to do it and how fast to do it, and then it'll do it in a predetermined way. So let's have a look at how that does go about it on the simulation. So here we are, up to speed. Where's me open slot gone? It's forgot about that. I'll not worry about that at this stage. So once again, here we come. down we go. And can you see that? Doing the same strategy as our open slot that we saw just now. Sorry, our closed slot. Same thing, trachoidal style. Then as it breaks through, it just clears them corners. That was what that little toolpath was that I was saying. And it was too quick for me. I was just going to slow it down and then show you it wiping the sides. Okay, that's that done. Simple slot. Our last feature of the day is this little boy here, that closed slot. Very common feature that people want to do. Now, what happened to that? That's that. Oh, I'll tell you what I did. Tell you why my slots disappeared. I overwrote it, didn't I? Instead of creating a new operation, I overwrote it. Never mind. Okay. Our next feature is going to be this slot here. Now the idea of this cycle that I'm going to use, a closed slot cycle, is a size for size on your tool. So you can't go in here with a smaller tool and then go around it. That's not what it's for. So let's have a look. Closed slot. And what it'll do, this is the way the graphic goes. That's telling you what to pick, which is going to be the outline of the slot, and that's what it's going to do. Just a cut in the middle. That's why it's called, well, it's not called simple slot, it's called closed slot. I'd call it simple slot. So let's, instead of overwriting once again my, yes I do, I can create a new one this time. Add milling operation, toolbox cycle, and it is closed slot. Okay, so our geometry is going to be along that there, or constant Z, and our tool, as I say, size for size, and I know that slot is 10 millimeters wide, so I'll select the 10 millimeters slot drill. Our levels from there to down there. Our technology, not a deal in there, is there? Not a deal in the technology for this, other than you step down. I will be a bit kinder to the tool, ramping down there. And what it's going to do, it's going to ramp down at an angle and then finish the flat floor. And that's it, job done. Pick my geometry, pick my tool, pick my levels, pick my step down value. And let's have a look at the toolpath there. You'll not be able to see a great deal, to be quite honest with you, because all it is a straight line. I'll just zoom up on that a tad. And what you can see it doing, if you can see that, I'll try and get it against that dark background. It's going down at an angle, then going down, back down at an angle, then back down the other way at an angle till it gets to the bottom, and then it's doing a flat floor at the bottom. And I shall just simulate that in the time-honoured fashion, and I'll step it down one step at a time. So it's, see that, ramped down at an angle there, then gone back, so on and so forth till it gets to the final one. Then it just does a flat one at the bottom to clear the bottom of that slot up. Simply pimply. I'm not sure how often you would machine something like a slot in that fashion. It is the simplest way you can possibly do it, but it's a toolbox cycle. It can save you a little bit of time in program, can that, if it's just a feature that just wants perhaps knocking up quickly on a shaft, or a slot on a shaft, or something like that. So that's it, machined. Okay, I cheated a little bit by using a pocketing strategy there, but if I was to suppress that and unsuppress the original one, we've got that part machined fully using toolbox cycles, apart from that slot now, of course, because I overwrote it. But if I was to simulate that, rather quickly, looks better when you do it quickly. You don't see all the fresh air movements. But there it is, all that done just using toolbox cycles. So they can be versatile. I mean, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that you try and machine all your parts using toolbox cycles, but they are a handy feature to have, and a lot of people forget they're there and don't realise how powerful they can be. So I hope that was useful to you. I'm glad that quite a few of you are in attendance today to see that. It's quite encouraging. So okay, has anybody got any questions for that? There's a little button there on the go to webinar thing there where you can hold a hand up and ask a question, and I'll wait for a minute or two to answer any questions that anybody may have. If you think of a question later on, obviously you can call us or email me at les@solidcamuk.com, or any of us really. There's as this was supposed to be Shane's webinar, you can email him and ask him about it. But I'm hoping that Shane will be doing back to his normal best and his voice recovers, and you'll be able to have a webinar from him sometime in the future. Okay, nobody's asked a question so far, so I take it that my explanation of this was all very well good, and everyone understood it. So yeah, don't forget that they're there. People tend to think of the main strategies that they've got in the SolidCAM 2.5D. They think of the profile, they think of the pocket, and they think everything's either a profile or a pocket. Well, generally it is, but don't forget how powerful the pocketing strategy is for clearing areas, because in essence that's what it is. It's an area clearing strategy. And also don't forget your toolbox cycles, because they are handy, and you can do things in your toolbox cycles with the predetermined toolpaths that it can be quite difficult to achieve, or to take a bit of extra work to achieve using some of the standard SolidCAM strategies. Okay, well, thank you very much everybody for listening. I hope you have a good weekend, and I hope to see you on any future webinars. Thank you very much. Bye.